Live! Look at that!
Oh my God, look at this.
I hope. Come on, baby, hold together. That's right. It is. I think it's happening. Oops, I forgot. I totally forgot. Our logo. This is the Jimmy Doane Show. Hey, everybody. We do this live at 4 o'clock, 2 times every single week. It's different every time. And we do this for your pleasure, of course. So, hope you enjoy it. Today is the 4th of August. It is Mrs. Jimmy's birthday.
Yes,
Watch out.
that's it.
So we had a party last night. It was lots of fun.
Well, it's party day at noon too. Some other people.
All right. So anyway, I'll post a copy of this show up on YouTube right after the show here, sometime with all the subjects time stamped. And so anyway, we're back to us. What's happening?
Well, as people may notice, I've got a new shirt on.
Yes,
This is
Route
not-
66.
We were worried that it was the green screen. It would.
What are you talking about green screen? We're not using a green screen.
No, that's what I meant. I mean, just sitting here, it might be different. It is kind of interesting that the Capitol building is blue, but that's fine.
Yeah.
The big news, of course, today, but we're not going to talk about it, are the killings. You know,
Well, I think we need.
you want to talk about
Well,
it?
yeah, we got to do a little bit of gun issue or whatever.
Okay, because the deal was, for those of us who are listening to this show from France or someplace, we had yesterday, within very short time of each other, 2 mass killings. One was in El Paso, Texas, and the other was in Dayton, Ohio. And in the one in El Paso, Texas, was like 20 people dead and 40 people injured. The guy had done a manifesto of some kind against Mexicanos, and which figures being in El Paso. And what's interesting is he lived like on the other side of Texas, had to drive 9 hours to get to El Paso.
Wow.
That's what I understood. But he had put up a manifesto, among other things, that said that no wetbacks. Interestingly enough, out of all the people that were dead or wounded, apparently only 3 of them. It was in a Walmart.
Right.
Only 3 of them were of south of the border descent or whatever.
Right. Well, look, he's a lunatic.
Oh yeah. But I mean, it was on his. He posted it as a manifesto. Apparently, now what he did was, only minutes before he drifted over there, apparently he put, "I'm getting ready to go" or something. I mean, who knows? But he had posted this manifesto up before. I mean, a couple days ago, I think.
Right.
And no criminal record or anything. But I'm surprised that somebody didn't, call up and say, "Just a minute here, we got
No criminal record, huh?
Apparently, no. Neither of them had criminal records.
Well, yeah. Well, I haven't heard any details about Ohio yet in terms of
the Ohio guy.
guy.
The Ohio guy. Let's see. Was he the one that? Which one was it that the sister and boyfriend were found dead in a car?
That's Ohio.
That was Ohio. Okay. And who knows what that's all about?
Well, it's part of his rampage. They probably tried to stop him or something.
Maybe.
Or he knew he had to shoot them first, or they said, "Wait a minute, don't go, don't do it."
Bang bang.
Yeah.
His own sister.
Look. These people are off the charts
Right.
in terms of their deviation from the norms. I mean, they are so far down the line. This is super rare. I know we see it every day now, but it's a factor of the coverage of the.
Right.
If once we get people, I saw somebody post on Facebook. They were like, "Oh my God, it used to be every week. Now it's every day, and then it's every hour, whatever." Look. When there's 100 worlds in our community, okay, it's going to be every 5 seconds because that's how many people there are. It's just a factor of the numbers.
I bet you in Chicago they don't even bother to report it.
They don't. Well, they don't. Now they've started now to do the weekend numbers on Drudge just to provide a little scope because more people were killed over the weekend in Chicago than were killed in these killings. So
really,
yeah, that's normal Chicago violence, basically.
Oh, I thought it was like 300 or 400 a year in Chicago.
Yeah, but that's it. Well, okay, and so think about it. I mean, if it was 30 people a week, then you're 1,500 a year or so. So I mean, and I think that's about what it is. It's a lot. It's a huge number, but it's all handguns and gang violence and drug stuff and
both of these I think
violence.
were assault rifles.
Yes, which is super rare. Okay, I just posted an essay up on our site on the papers page about guns.
Okay.
And on it there's a little chart which anybody can Google and find, and it shows the number of deaths by rifles in the United States for 2010 was 350.
Okay.
Okay. For feet and hands, it's like 800.
Oh God.
Okay. For knives, it's 1,500.
Jeez.
So rifles are nothing in terms of their impact on the deaths in the United States. Literally,
it reminds me a little bit of they're horrific in that when that happens, like a knife, it's one guy or two guys and something. But it reminds me also of airplane accidents. You know, when 140 people are killed, it's bad.
That's a great analogy.
I mean, and it's like you are the safest thing in the world on an airplane.
Exactly. Yeah. It is by far the safest way to travel, statistically speaking.
You're going to die more than likely on the way to or from the
like 20 times or 50 times more likely to die driving to the airport. You know, and when people are afraid of sharks, I think the same thing. Yeah. You should have died 10 times driving in your car to the beach before the shark is going to even think about getting you. Same with lightning. Everything is like that. Statistically speaking, you got to look at what's dangerous, and it's not rifles. I'm sorry, it's just not. This every once in a while, a crazy lunatic gets a hold of this stuff, and you can't draw any inferences from the fact that he's white or has a manifesto or is Muslim or whatever, because he's a lunatic. Right. You don't want to create government policy off of.
Yes, they do.
Well, I know.
I didn't listen to the shows today, but I would imagine that they cranked up on the three talking head shows.
Yes.
I haven't listened to them yet.
I haven't either.
I really don't. I pretty much could write their scripts for them.
I forgot. I meant to today because I wanted to hear what they would say to this.
Well,
today.
we can listen to it. You know, the nice thing is I can catch them on YouTube, or not YouTube, but on one of my podcasty things with no ads. So you get the whole show for 40 minutes instead of an hour.
That's way better.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what I did do. I figured I could do this. Found a LA Times article about the issue.
And
here are the big takeaways from it. This guy, the left, this guy's a super lefty guy, obviously. And his big issue is he doesn't think that the people on the right care. You know, from his perspective, they're too cowardly. Like he's reaching for these definitions as to why they won't do something. You know, that was what Kamala Harris came on the TV and she said, "Do something. Do something, Mr. President." Well, what the hell are you talking about? She's talking about collecting guns.
Yeah.
But you just can't say do something. That doesn't make any difference. And collecting all the rifles, as you can see from the statistics, would not make a dent, basically. But there's bigger issues. There's bigger fish to fry in this pan. I mean, it's not that the people on the right don't care. They totally care. They just literally believe, as I believe, that looser gun policy would actually prevent some of this violence as opposed to stricter gun policy. Mm-hmm. I think that they had the recent shooting in California. The guy got the gun in Nevada or something, and the governor Gavin was like, "Well," and he shot at people in California, and I'm like, "Well, yeah." So basically, you couldn't protect the Californians there, and they couldn't protect themselves either.
Right.
The second guy in Ohio was brought down within 60 seconds.
Right. He still managed to get off a few shots. What, 9 people dead or something?
Yeah, he killed nine people.
And he was dressed in camo, and I'm not camo, but body armor, somebody said. So, but they took him down like right away.
Exactly. And to me, what is always interesting is that the left doesn't distinguish between a cop as a good guy with a gun and just your average citizen as your good guy with a gun.
Right.
And when you say things like we want to prevent the proliferation of guns, they're aiming at the wrong targets. They're talking about average citizens. But the average person with a gun doesn't create violence. It's not like you get a hold of a gun and you're like, hey, let me go do, now that I've got this gun, let me go do some violence. That's not the, it works the reverse. First you decide, I'm going to go do some violence, and then if you have a gun available, you choose that means. But if you don't, you do something like the guy in Japan did last week and lights a building on fire.
Yeah.
Or you drive the car through the plaza out in France or whatever. Or you do get the gun. If we did have gun control, people would still get guns.
Well, they tried to do, yeah, they would, and the modicum, what, as you said, first of all, criminals get guns no matter what anyway. That's number one. But number two, we do have, a check. Most people have a background check. You have to wait 3 days for a pistol.
Well, in Florida you do.
Yeah, right. In Florida you do. You have, I bought a gun, several years ago, and I was at a gun show, but it was from a dealer at a gun show, and he said, "Here's the paperwork. Come by the store in 3 days and pick up your gun."
Right.
Fine. Okay, that's fine.
Right.
But
now, people are arguing for those kinds of common sense reforms. Like you said, that affects us here in Florida, and I don't think it's a huge statist problem as yet, because we still have a sort of shall issue, I think, is our law, which means that they got to give you the license unless there's a
fallback law, or
the default position.
Yeah,
they got to give you the license unless there's a reason for them not to. But those types of things are not the problem. 2% of federal inmates who had guns reported they got them from gun shows.
Okay.
You talk about the gun show loophole. 2%. It's nothing. They get it. You get it from their family member or the drug dealer, or it's.
Yeah. Well, they were. Of course, they were all bent out of shape because they had. When you send a surrogate into a store, like when we're 15, 16, you get some bum outside the liquor store. Hey,
exactly. Well, and these days you can print the dang guns.
Right. That's
even
true,
even if we collected them all, you could still print them. But
and it's going to get more interesting. That's for sure. So anyway, that's. We'll hear more obviously about this. I'm sure it'll be the topic because it was so horrendous. So the other thing that today when I had lunch, the woman we had lunch with was a very dear friend of ours. It turns out that her, is it her, not her daughter, yes, I think it's some people that she knows, siblings or something like that. They're responsible adult type people in their 30s or 40s or something like that, are absolutely convinced that all of the shootings are bogus. Yeah, Sandy Hook never happened. This had been cooked up by the government to take our guns away. All this stuff, and she said, these are intelligent. They're college graduates. They're intelligent people. And she says, what? She's talking to them. What? And I think it's her daughter-in-law, a couple daughters-in-law, or something like that. And these are, these people are like, your age. And no, those were all phonied up to take our guns away. And you're thinking, how do you get all those, you think about all the movies you've seen of this stuff. You go in there and there's the yellow tape and the cops and everything like that, and people are milling around and they interview people, hey, my dog, this, that, and the other, and you're saying it's
paid actors.
Paid actors. God.
Yeah, well, of course, what's his name? Big Mouth guy got sued for that.
I talked about that. I heard about that. Now, is he still being sued?
I think he settled that case. I think they won it. I think he had to pay.
Really?
Them. Yeah, I think.
Because his deal was that he said that Sandy Hook didn't happen.
Yeah,
and one of the parents sued him for what? I don't know what.
Intentional infliction of emotional distress, I think, was the ultimate tort.
So it was a civil suit.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a infliction of distress suit, which to me was a reach, but it was because he was so brazen about it.
He was totally brazen.
And I think they were, they gave him a couple of options, a couple of chances to back out before they sued him, I think, and he doubled down instead because that's his shtick.
That was his shtick, yeah.
But
well, he's not on YouTube anymore, is he?
Well, he's still got Infowars. And
yeah,
I
know that, and of course he has a big following.
Yeah,
I mean, there are people that have him on one of their things on the top of their search.
He still gets linked to Drudge Report.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, I mean, I'll pick a story every once in a while off of Drudge, and it'll go to Infowars.
Oh wow, I didn't have it for me. Okay, well let's move along.
Okay.
Speaking of guns and stuff like this, I thought this was talk about a reach in the government and so forth. The FBI document warns conspiracy theories are the new domestic terrorism threat. Speaking of Alex Jones, who was a big conspiracy guy.
Right.
Okay. The FBI intelligence bulletin from the Bureau.
Theory is the threat?
Yes. Conspiracies. You ready for this? They call the Phoenix field officer. The FBI has an intelligence bulletin that describes, quote, conspiracy theory driven domestic extremists, unquote, as a growing threat, and notes that in the first reports to say that, it lists a number of arrests, including some that haven't been publicized, related to violent incidents motivated by fringe beliefs. So the document specifically mentions QAnon, which is I listen to the guy that there's a guy that
that's
does
Q, right?
Yeah, Q. Right, that's Q. Anonymous, okay, but it's Q, right? And but there's
is that one person or is that an organization?
Who knows?
Oh, okay.
It's anonymous,
right?
But there's a guy who quotes them all the time. There's two or three people that quote from QAnon.
Okay.
And on the latest conspiracy stuff. QAnon, a shadowy network that believes in a deep state conspiracy against President Trump, and Pizzagate, which was the pedophile thing in Washington, D.C., and run out of a base and so forth. Okay. The FBI assesses these conspiracy theories as very likely will emerge, spread, and evolve into the modern information marketplace, occasionally driving groups and individual extremists to carry out criminal or violent acts. So they believe that conspiracy theory-driven extremists are likely to increase during the 2020 presidential cycle. The point being that if you're a conspiracy theorist, let's say, like the deep state,
right,
and that kind of stuff, or the
Pizzagate or whatever.
Well, think about the.
So what, you're likely to pick up a rifle and go.
Yes, and the FBI is following you, following and arresting people because they might be this is a majority report.
Hey, all you flat earthers, get in the van.
That's exactly it. Exactly. I mean, it's minority report. I mean, it's just stunning to me that they would come out with this. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, have you gone nuts? So we're talking.
You're going to start rounding up the climate people, or
I guess yes, the deniers. The Holocaust deniers.
I was talking about the alarmist people, but.
Oh no, the deniers. No, the government's
I'm
all.
kidding now.
Yeah, I know. But no, you sit there and say there's no climate problem.
Right.
Badge. We're going to search this place. Yeah. Right. So I just thought that they have gone to a new level. The FBI, a domestic terrorist, is somebody who believes in what they consider to be a conspiracy, which theory. I know there's not a real conspiracy, a fake conspiracy, if you want to call it that. When some people believe. Well, for instance, you think about the people that honestly believe that 9/11, is a put-up job. I mean, they talk about it couldn't have collapsed that way, or Building Number 7. What the hell was that all about? And you go on and on. I mean, there are still people. There are still lots of people that have absolute ironclad proof that Kennedy was a put-up job. That this was not, what's his name, Sirhan or whoever it was,
right,
whatever the guy was.
I'm in on that one.
Yeah, I am too. So don't say it too loud. They're going to look at. They're coming through here.
My favorite conspiracy theory is the Death Star one, though.
The Death Star.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. There's a big conspiracy theory that Darth Vader was in on the whole Death Star explosion.
Ah, okay.
He's actually he's the father of the pilot that did the thing, and
he managed to get away.
He managed to get away right at the last second.
Right at the last minute.
Why would he go out in his personal ship to take on these guys?
Well, not only that. I mean, he was he was supposed to be the captain to go down with the ship. And he didn't. No, but he was the big honcho. He stayed on the bridge till the last man, and he would have blown up. Instead, he gets in his own little private doohickey ship there and gets.
Well, it's pretty convincing. I got to tell you, how the droid escaped and all that stuff, and the plans, from planet to planet.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's tenuous at best.
I see.
So.
Well, it makes perfect sense, and they have never, and all the following ones, they've never resolved that, have they?
No, I don't think so.
So, all right. Something on a little lighter note.
Okay.
An unopened 1987 Nintendo game could sell for $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can tell you, because I collect Apple II stuff. And some of those, if they're in pristine condition, the little floppy disks, they go for some pretty good money. I mean, I don't know if you can find a copy of Fortran, for instance, for an Apple, it goes for hundreds of dollars. And anyway, the $10,000. The boxed game, this reminds me of one of the Big Bang things where they were getting ready. One of the guys in Big Bang threatened to open up a box that had a collectible character. No, don't do that, because it takes the value down by 90%. And so this is a box that's never been opened up, still in the bag with a receipt for $38.45 from J.C. Penney. I mean, you talk about virgin, and so there's the provenance and everything. And so the guy that owns it here, I think he's out in Reno or someplace. And he thought, well, it might be worth a couple $100 because you go online and you can see some of it. Anyway, there's a video game consignment director at Heritage Auction says it's the hardest one to find in sealed condition, and there are fewer than 10 in the hands of vintage game collectors. So she's saying 10 grand at auction, that kind of thing. So,
I wonder if you buy it, do you leave it in the bag in the box? And
good question, because one of the things that I do see from time to time, very rarely anymore, obviously, are in the box Apple IIc, which was made in like 1984 or 5, still in the box. And the other day there was a Macintosh, I think, one of the original, still in the box. And like you say, on the Macintosh, I doubt if I would open it up. But I hardly see paying $10,000 for something as a quote investment.
Well, right. I mean, if you're not going to open it up and use it, then
then
it's just a collector's item, and then, like you said, then it's just an investment. So
in hopes that it might go up again, and of course that's a big risk when you think about it. 20 years from now, who knows?
Yeah.
Just because it went in the last 20, 25 years or whatever it was, went up from $4 to $10,000, but doesn't mean it's going to go up. I mean, that's a hell of a return on your money. But from 10,000 to what, 100,000? I don't think so. It's not going to happen anyway. But it is interesting, like you say. I have seen some of this stuff go, and the guy says, "I'm going to open it up."
Heck yeah, man! I mean, that's what I would do is open it up. I would want the games with it and play the thing.
Right. Well, what happens is apparently this particular title is a hard one to find. It came with it, and so who knows. So it is interesting. I see this stuff all the time on Apple stuff. Believe it or not, is pretty much a lot of it is in demand. Although it's interesting because some of the stuff, if you want a 386 motherboard or a 386 computer, it's like free. I mean, nobody's paying any money for that. I mean, it can be perfect with even with Windows 1 on it or a DOS or anything like. Could be mint condition with everything, and you're not going to pay $10 for it. But
well, that's why they'll get thrown away until there's very few of them, and then the last remaining ones will be valuable as collector's item.
Well, it's interesting because in the Apple thing, if you want, there's certain cards that even yes, they were $200-300, 30 years ago, but they're still $200 or $300 now, given inflation and everything. But some of the cards are like they're throwing them in. Some printer cards and stuff like that. You just get them. But there's some other cards that are worth big bucks. So I have some. So too bad. Contact me. Now this is something that comes right up your alley. Katy Perry and a bunch of her cohorts have ordered to pay $2.3 million for copying a song. Katy Perry, her collaborators, and her record label must pay more than $2.78 million because the pop star's big 2013 hit, Dark Horse, copied a 2009 Christian rap song. said the federal grand jury ruled it was an underdog victory for rapper Marcus Gray, a relatively obscure artist once known as Flame, whose 5-year-old lawsuit survived constant court challenges. And of course, you know that Katy Perry had everybody and their brother in there. Now, I don't know, you know about more about copyright stuff than I do, but I thought this was interesting. The amount they were asking for $20 million, and but at the end they got the 2.78. I think that her insurance company has to pay a couple $100,000 of it, but the other people are supposed to pony up with the rest. I think a lot of it's been insured. I mean, who knows how much she paid for the attorneys to fight this thing? But and of course, you wonder how close it was. I mean, why would she do that? Why would anybody, you know? I don't know what the part was copyrighted and what the part was copied, but obviously the federal grand jury thought it was close enough or whatever. So the question was, where'd she get it, and not think that it was already out there? I mean, did she get it from some songwriter and say, here's a song of mine, and that was the guy that stole it, and figured that this rapper guy was so inconspicuous that he wouldn't hear about it or something? And
probably not. Probably she personally had no idea that she was, if it was even related to that guy's thing. I think probably more than likely it's simply a coincidence that they happen to sound the same. Now, I don't know these specific songs. And there are times when songs are so alike it's impossible that one wasn't made from the other one. You know, I can think of Michael Jackson had Billie Jean and Billy Ocean's, what was Billy Ocean's song? I can't remember now because they're both playing in my head. But those two songs, when you hear them, you're like, no way. I mean, no way. One of them was definitely made based on the other one. But that can be done unconsciously. It happens a lot with comedians. People will accidentally steal somebody's joke.
Yeah.
And it's because you think of it later and you don't realize you're just remembering it. You know, you make this little link. And then you're like, oh, I thought of that. And no, you didn't. You saw that guy's act a couple weeks ago or whatever it is. But it's harder to pinpoint with music.
Well, it's interesting in the music. Here's how much they can pinpoint. On at least one occasion, maybe two that I remember, there's a riff in the background, a guitar riff or something that is, you know, a part of the song buried in it. And even after it's been run through a you know, a warping machine or whatever it is, the original guys recognize it and say, that's ours. You can't.
Yeah, but
and they've sued and won.
Well, I know, and it's from my perspective, there's two things. One is, you know, it's a blurry line, and if you can prove it, if you can say, hey, you know, if you can prove it to a jury, then there's your facts. They establish the facts. But my second thought is, from my perspective, I'm not a fan of copyright laws.
I know.
I think it's a drag on distribution. I think the artists would be better off if there weren't copyright laws. The artists, not only, I think everybody would be better off. The artists and the audiences. But the system now allows the middleman to sort of control everything.
Well, when you think about it, you look at somebody like Louis C.K., for instance. I mean, he says you can have the whole thing for $5.
Right.
I mean, why would you bother to copy it if he's giving it to you for $5? You know, you who doesn't have that in their PayPal account? You know, where you can just do it, and he says it's yours. You know, bango. So
yeah,
and I would think when you think about any kind of a group that's decent, they do their own work, let's say, and they get paid when they do. When they go out, you know, and they get popular that way, and then they get on the internet, and you know, that's millions of people. I mean, that's a big deal now. You get on some of these places; they're all indie people, and I would imagine that people are going through there all the time trying to find.
And you can sell merchandise a lot better if your distribution is wider.
We had what's her name and what's his name as their little group over today.
Allie and Goshen?
Yes, Allie and Goshen. They were doing their little thing, but I mean, you know, they probably got paid a couple $100 for, you know, for the brunch entertainment, and but I don't know if they got anything. I don't know if they put out any CDs, but there were people that were coming up to them.
Right.
So.
Well, what can you say? I mean, she's not going to be hurting for the money or anything.
No.
So.
No, it's fine. Okay, the next thing, let's see what I got here. I got something about the Fed, which I want to talk about. The Burger King is going to, we talked about this before, about the Burger King, the Miracle Whopper, or whatever they call it. What do they call it?
Impossible.
Impossible Whopper, yeah. And apparently apparently their tests have worked out okay. In middle America or something, and they say so that they're going to roll it out, the veggie Whopper. They're going to roll it out apparently starting pretty soon here, and I would imagine, as we've talked about before, this is just a little follow-up on that. We talked about it before, that I don't doubt for a second that the sales will spike while people at least try it, and then we'll
cancer.
Find out. Well, yeah, but it was interesting what they did. What this article did was to compare the nutritional content, and it turns out that it's interesting. They had to go through some hoops and everything, comparing the nutritional content. With, of course, they're almost identical in calories.
Really?
Yeah, 270 versus 240 for each. Saturated 8 grams saturated fat, and protein 20 versus 19. The meat version contains more cholesterol, 80 milligrams compared to 0, and less dietary fiber, 0 compared to the Impossible's 3 grams. But the vegan
cholesterol now is a good thing. Now,
yes, right.
It changed it around.
It changed it around. Now the HDL and LDL or whatever it is, and the vegan contains apparently a lot of sodium. 230 milligrams compared to 0 in the beef burger.
Well, there's actually been a sort of revolution about salt. I don't know about sodium so much, but salt.
That's salt.
Well, it's in sodium chloride. But yeah,
it's interesting that both sodium and chloride are deadly. But salt,
sodium chloride is life-providing.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Well, anyway, so it says the Impossible contains 21 ingredients, which when you start to read it...
Spiders!
well, I'm going to talk about that.
Right.
I'm going to talk about that, because we did talk about that before, and I want to talk about it again. Ranging from soy protein concentrate, coconut oil, to methyl cellulose and soy, and legoglobulin or whatever, an iron-containing molecule used to provide the meaty taste, although it's found in roots of soy. Impossible Foods created through a genetically engineered process for lowest achievable environmental impact.
Oh God, it just sounds all bad.
This was the ingredient that kept them out. They couldn't do it for a while until that particular ingredient was okayed, got approved, and so suddenly one of the 21, the 21st ingredient came
after
out.
Years of testing.
Whatever, yeah, that's
on
right.
mice.
Yeah, so
male mice.
Yeah. So anyway, these burgers will join the Beyond, which relies on pea protein, PEA, not PE, pea protein instead of soy. So anyway, I thought what we're finding is we'll do a follow-up later on to find when they see how successful they are.
How many people die from
vegan stuff, yeah. I don't want to talk about... Michael Moore is convinced that Michelle needs to gonna run.
She's not gonna run.
No, I know. We said
she's
that.
never gonna run. She would crush everybody. She would crush everybody. She wouldn't even have to. Man, you just put her name on there and go home.
And crush the Donald.
Yeah, she'd crush everybody. Yeah.
Wow, that's what he says.
Yeah,
that's what Michael Moore said. She would crush the Donald.
Yeah, unless the economy is firing on all cylinders. If somehow we have the best economy. Really, if it's Dow 30,000 kind of thing,
yeah,
then he beats anybody. But
well, it is interesting that for some reason the Fed is on his side, by reducing the thing again, the quarter point. So who knows what?
Yeah. But she'll never do it. She's already lived in the White House for 8 years. Now, if she wanted to do it, you'd have known right then. Because she'd have been like, "Wow, I don't want to leave. I want to." I mean, she could have rode off the, she could have been in there last time, and but now she has $100 million.
Yeah.
Family lives in Hawaii. I mean, what more do you want?
Not much. I tell you, that's pretty much it. Maybe she. Now there was when
She gets to live like a queen, go anywhere, treated like royalty everywhere.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know,
right.
why would you spoil that?
No, I mean, she's going to be definitely going first class a lot of places.
Oh,
and,
Jesus.
well, it's interesting because maybe now, she said during the campaign originally in 2008, for the first time I feel like I'm an American.
Yeah, yeah.
And so now, honey, do you feel like one or not? I don't know. Maybe you're decide to be Hawaiian native. I don't know. Okay, the next thing I've got here is that the UK, France, and Germany, North Korea apparently has started launching missiles again.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what they are, at least so far. Well, are they ballistic missiles or not? And apparently they're short range, and and who knows why? But nobody knows why it started up. But everybody's doing the finger shake. Please don't do not even please. They urged North Korea to take concrete steps towards complete, verifiable, and irreversible denuclearization. And this is one of those things I find it interesting because I thought we were over that, but it keeps coming back.
Man, of course it does. Look, this is a country that is fighting for its life, especially the dictator that's in charge of it all. If I were him, I would tell the generals, I would say, listen, full steam ahead. Whatever you need to develop the nuclear technology, you will have. Make it so. I'll cover for you.
Really?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I would absolutely be telling them that. I would say, get us on the stage.
And so
because once you have one of those things, you're on the stage. Nobody's going to mess with you anymore.
That's true.
So you're a player.
Yeah. Well, I guess you're right. Interesting because, in the Middle East is Iran or somebody's supposed to be ramping up there.
Yeah, they've been trying.
They've been trying, and about every seems like we don't hear that much about it, but every once in a while the Israelis will sail in there and bomb some, in the country and bomb some nuclear processing facility, which of course I think is kind of useless because they know they're coming, and their facilities probably got to be 100 feet underground under solid concrete.
Well, I think the Israelis have still been doing some good damage over there. Good damage, so to speak.
Right.
Well, they're going to keep that regime in check. That's why I'm not worried about Iran mostly. Is because
I wouldn't worry about them
Israelis
anyway. As far as I'm concerned, so what if they had one?
Well, I'm with you. It wouldn't. I don't think it would destabilize the regions. Everybody's
No,
worried
either.
about.
The only reason
People say things like, "Oh, well, they would use it." No, you wouldn't, because then you get glassed.
No.
You wouldn't threaten to use it either, because then you get glassed.
No.
All you would do is have it as a defensive
You
technology.
join the club,
Right,
that
exactly.
kind of thing. You'd get called in. You'd be able to sit at the table with the big boys.
And look, they'll get it soon. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Everybody, in 30, 40 years, any country who wants one will have one. So
Yeah. Don't tell them about ours, but the one we're doing here in the garage. Okay.
yeah.
I thought that was very interesting. The Russian guy says, "Well, we don't really have any information about what it was, but on how many were launched. Is our position is we'd like to base our position to have these guys stop doing what they're doing on trustworthy sources." Well, if they don't know anything that's going on, what's trustworthy? I mean, they don't know if there's a ballistic missile, short range. They don't know how many.
Look, they know where it took off from and where it landed.
Okay.
So they know what the range is, like you said, and they know whether or not. I'll bet you they've got great satellite images of the whole thing with the megapixel camera and everything. They're just not telling us.
No, they're not. Well, I did think it was interesting that at least one of them, they said it was intercontinental because it went way up. Mm-hmm. And came down not far away, but the fact that it got way up there was a big deal.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Now I thought this was another thing in Sudan. 4 shot dead amid marches against violence. Here you have a march against violence. We're against violence, and the military comes out and shoots 4 people dead in violence.
Well,
and no wonder, what happened is the march was a pro-democracy march, which apparently they don't have in Sudan. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm suspicious whenever I hear a title of a march or what they're marching for, because you never know these days. I mean, you got groups like Antifa. Oh yeah, we're the anti-fascist, and they're total fascists.
Right.
And then you've got I just I mean, now there are protests going on all over the place. If you look around now, it's
that's true. Oh yeah,
and they're quite violent.
Now what is? I don't have anything today on this, but aren't there like 2 million people in Hong Kong now?
Hong Kong is in serious. There's serious protests going on there.
2 million?
Yeah, it's
in
real.
the streets. And what do you think? And of course, somebody said that the Chinese military
that was
is
us.
amassing. Was that us? Amassing on the mainland. Well, I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, it does not look good. And the latest thing I saw was that some headline that said China will not stand idly by or whatever.
Yeah.
There's possible loggerheads there, so we'll see what happens.
With 2 million people, you think you might just. It reminds me at the end of V for Vendetta, when they all put on the mask and then the military finally just said, we're not going to shoot all these people.
Well, yeah, and then of course there's the other ending.
You're right. The one that they didn't show you.
Yeah, well,
they mowed them all down.
That's it. That's the other one. That happens sometimes. And then I don't know if you've noticed, but protests in Russia.
Yes, well, they arrested a lot of people. They arrested like 1,000 people or something.
Hundreds
anyway, at least, yeah.
And so
they weighed in there.
I thought Putin was super popular. Maybe that was all propaganda as well.
Of course.
I mean, I would assume.
Well, but the thing is, look, it's the same thing. I hate to, you're always
99% for Saddam Hussein. What?
Yeah, right, something like that. You don't dare.
Right.
You don't dare. Of course, and it's like in North Korea. The dear leader.
Right.
I mean, you don't come out against that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, Russia gets most of its revenue from oil stuff, and oil has been hovering right around the high 50s. So that's. Should be okay for them.
It's tough to call. It's down. It's down from what it was.
Yeah.
And there's kind of a glut.
The glory years for them.
Well, they actually do. What they do is they ship the natural gas over to Europe, and the European Union depends on that pipeline from Russia for natural gas.
Right. Well, I was just trying to discern a reason why the Russians would sort of be in unrest right now. I hadn't heard of any particular. Major issues since the last collapse of the oil prices.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of that stuff is the what they call the opposition people who when you run as an opposition candidate, you risk getting arrested.
Yeah,
and they get regularly arrested.
Yeah,
and so that's one way to keep
murdified.
Yeah, murdified.
And then also the Tommy Robinson protests in the UK.
Yeah. And now what's up with it? Is that still going on?
Yeah, apparently.
Because now
just yesterday.
He's out.
Yeah,
he's out.
I think so, but I think he's been sentenced to some more time.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Boy, I mean, you talk about it. Of course, they don't have a First Amendment.
No.
So they can go in there and snatch you up for
saying something.
I don't like what you said. Boom, cart you off. Yeah, and of course, what happens is the rest. Now they have to put up with the rest of the world, supposedly, saying, "Well, how can you do this?" But I don't think most of the rest of the world doesn't have a First Amendment either.
No.
So.
Man, the rest of the world, we could be lopping off heads, and they'd be like, "Yeah, that's what we do."
Yeah, that's true. I thought this. Speaking of foreign country, there, Britain or whatever it is, and Sudan, Poland. Big news in Poland. Poland waives the tax, that is the income tax, for young employees, and the reason is they're having a brain drain. Kids are getting their engineering degree or whatever they get and hoofing it out of Poland for greener pastures. And so what they did is they said that Poland Thursday scrapped its personal income tax for young employees earning less than $22,000 a year. So you get to keep it all at that point, as part of a drive to reverse a brain drain and demographic decline that's dimming the prospects of a country that is, and this I thought was otherwise experiencing strong economic growth. But apparently they're a little nervous because these people are graduating from engineering school or medical school or whatever it is, and they're leaving. And because I think Poland's in the EU, and you can go over to France or Italy or something like that, I guess, get a better job. So they said, so what they, and I thought this interesting. Because it's taxation that drives people out. Taxation drives people out of California to Texas, and we get people from New York now down here in Florida. And of course, the panic is that they're going to bring their super liberal blue state ideas here, and and don't do that because we like we like not so much government intervention, supposedly, although that might change, who knows, in Texas and Florida.
Well, what's interesting is that they recognize that the reversal of the tax policy
Exactly.
might keep people in
They did this in at least one place. I forget, there was some place here in the States, I guess it was maybe some city or county or something, that had the same problem. And people were leaving, in streams, and so they eliminated whatever tax they had put on there. Like, when you think about it, it's like almost like the tea tax in revolutionary times, where it wasn't that much, but you have to get rid of it. So they did get rid of it. Or the stamp tax, I guess, is the one they got rid of. But they said, we can still do it. No, that didn't work well. The other thing that I thought was, another thing that I thought was fairly interesting, a potentially habitable planet was found in a new, I like this, they call it a new solar system. Well, people don't understand, our sun is called Sol, and that's why we have a solar system. See, there's no such another place as those are star systems, and what it's NGC 9723 planetary system.
Right. You know what NGC stands for, right?
What? Never go there?
Yeah, right. No, it stands for New General Catalog.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's like, and what they would do is they would just identify objects in the sky, and they just put them in the catalog, and so they all have NGC numbers.
Okay.
Like all of the major astronomical objects that are out there.
I did not know that. So, but I mean, so a quasar has an NGC number and a planet has an NGC number.
Yeah, all the things that you could see when they made that book, when they made the New General Catalog. Yeah, and so of course I think it was pre-Hubble, so they still hadn't done the deep field exposures and things like that, but
a lot of NGC numbers these days.
It's pretty unceremonious naming system.
Yeah, it is. Well, and I thought this is this new star system with a planet that could be habitable, a Spanish astrophysicist who led research. So anyway, the 3 new planets we're discovering, whatever, a red dwarf JG 357, a small and cooling star, 31 light years away. Now this is practically next door.
Right.
How far? A light year is a couple of trillion miles or something, and so it's 31 light years. You think about it, at the speed of light,
186,000 miles a second.
Yeah, it's 31 years.
Yeah,
okay, and then a return. And if you got there and you say click click, listen, NASA, we got here. 31 years later, the message comes back. So
whatever you do, don't.
You're right. That's right. Don't come.
There's only a few stars within that distance, but this is all just wild speculation.
Well, in fact, that's what they do. Given its distance from the star, similar to that of the Mars to our sun, they figure that planet temperature is somewhere about minus 53 degrees Celsius, which is minus 60 some degrees Fahrenheit. And this says there seems a little cold at first. Researchers they said it could be roughly the same size as Earth, or up to twice its size. Well, okay, good luck on that. It's not the first potentially habitable. The other one, and a couple years ago, discovery Proxima b, we talked about this before, I think, a mere 4 light years. So, pack your bags if you want to emigrate from the Earth,
Right.
And you got to figure
on the horizon there.
Well, they have to, and I did see where they got the sail up that's supposed to be powered by the sun's something or another.
What?
Yeah. This is a way to get the thing moving without having to carry all the fuel.
Yeah, are you sure that wasn't a Star Wars movie or something?
Could be.
No, I did see some interesting tech this week. Did you see the Flying Man made it across the English Channel?
Yeah, I just saw that. Yeah, that's.
Now he did have to stop once.
Did he?
Yes.
How'd he stop?
They had a floating platform.
Really?
Yep.
So he figured. Now, what? Doesn't he have 30 minutes of flight time or something?
I don't know. If he did, he used most of it. He made it in 22 minutes or something, or
really,
or it was 22 or 33 minutes. It was something like that. But had to stop once. missed the platform the first try.
Yeah.
Fell in the drink.
In the drink, yeah.
But interesting tech. It's kind of neat. 5 little jet engines and a little jet pack. So
Yeah.
the new technology.
Yeah, well, we're going to be using that right away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's when you think about it, you know, the first Wright brothers flight was like 12 seconds or 100 feet or 120 feet or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Once you're crossing the English Channel, I mean that's significant.
Blériot did it the first time.
Mm-hmm.
In his, did you see his plane? Apparently they made quite a bit of them, quite a few of them.
Yeah.
It was 2000. It was 1909, I think, is when he made it across. But yeah, I mean, it's only like 20 miles or something, isn't it?
Yeah,
at,
something like
at
that.
the closest
30,
point.
Yeah. Something.
Because they've had a couple people that tried to swim it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a little nippy in the water, so.
Yeah, they've swum it.
So okay, this is something that I see this kind of stuff come up all the. Let me just make sure here. Okay, a rookie cop, a guy, apparently been on the force for like 6 months. He killed a woman.
Oh yeah.
He was trying to shoot her dog.
Yeah.
And apparently what happened, she was an attractive woman. Apparently he'd been sent over to her area as a check to see if she was okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the dog, about a 40-pounder, apparently came at the policeman, and his first response was to blast away, and he killed her, not the dog.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, this is, the police chief said the dog, which he described as a lab mix, and I thought it was interesting. The weight that was given in the article was 3 stone. Well,
yeah,
a stone is about 13 pounds. And the investigators believe it belonged to the dead woman. But I thought, you know.
So what, it was over in England or what?
Yeah, let me just see. The dive police Labrador. No, in Texas. Texas.
The story out of England or something?
No, let me just think here. I don't know. I don't know why he's quoting somebody in stone.
Yeah.
This was in Texas, and and it was in her upper body is where she got shot. So here's the dog down there, and there's the upper body.
Well, she was laying down.
What?
She was laying down.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's why they were doing a wellness check.
I didn't know that. Okay, so
he's firing down at the dog.
Okay.
And he shoots
okay.
her.
Well, that explains a lot.
Yeah.
But still, he feared for his life.
Well, he's got to say that at this point. He's got to say that, or he goes to prison. And so.
But it's a 40-pound dog.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. To me, the entire, and I think the backlash is coming. That is, there was a movement recently for a while for just the cops to just shoot the dogs.
Right.
And they've been doing that, but I think enough of those videos have come to light, and this one especially.
Yeah.
There's been a big push.
Yeah, it was on the chest cam or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it was. I think it was on the. Yeah, I think they showed
that. They just they don't need to do that. But
I don't think so. I mean, when I think about it, the things. Look, the UPS people and the mailmen don't carry guns.
Right. They get by fine.
And they get by pretty much okay.
Yeah.
I just think that when you, again, I realize that when you consider the numbers of, statistically, it's not that often. Still, you know, you're shooting somebody's dog. I don't know. I don't think.
Well, look, you know, my thought is if it's 100-pound rot pit bull mix and it's charging you,
frothing,
right? Exactly. Then okay, I got you. Yeah, you know, if it's a pack of Dobermans, you know, all right, you got to do something, okay, because you're gonna get eaten, all right, but. If it's a Shih Tzu, you know, if
well, they did have
it's
one.
a Jack Russell Terrier or something.
They had one like that.
That's what I'm saying. A couple, they are like that. They're significantly smaller dogs than
the ones that would kill you.
Right, exactly. So
let me just see here what else we've got. We're coming. Do you got anything in particular?
Let me see. I want to make sure I got all my gun stuff here.
Oh, yeah, I got something too.
Okay, go ahead.
I've got an update. You know, on Ray Kurzweil, you know, he wrote The Singularity this year. and it's supposed to be 2029
Yeah.
when the computer becomes sentient, supposedly. Well, this all has to do with Moore's law,
Yeah.
and so forth. But apparently, that kind of thing is accelerating because there's these people here said human-level artificial intelligence in 5 years.
Yeah. Bullshit.
Well, I don't know. Microsoft has recently injected $1 billion into artificial intelligence research, co-founded by Elon Musk. So,
I'm sure everybody's investing the hell out of it.
I mean,
and they're going to get
$1 billion.
smarter and smarter and smarter. The difference is there's a difference between general AI and specific AI.
Right. Well, I mean, Big Blue can win chess,
That's right.
and you can have specific
But
robots.
ask him how Mrs. Jimmy feels about about her dinner choice,
Right.
and see what he says. And he'll have no clue as to the nuances that are involved. Mrs. Jimmy said she wanted to go to this restaurant.
Yeah. Right.
Well, computer, do
Yeah.
you think that means that's where she really wants to
Oh
go?
boy, I tell you, the sparks start flying.
Exactly. I'm telling you.
That's it. Be just, does not compute.
That's it. There's no way to compute that stuff. And that's the kind of stuff that the human mind has adapted to over millions of years of...
Well, here's the deal, though, and this is what caught me up about this was the doubters said that a supercomputer might not be able to match a human brain in complexity, even if it's almost infinitely big. Well, whatever. The thing about what you don't understand is what constitutes intelligence.
Right.
And the computer doesn't care. I mean, if the computer could be its own way of thinking, that would be in its own way sentient, so to speak. I mean, if it thinks it doesn't care what you think.
Well, it doesn't care at all. That's
Right, it doesn't care.
difference.
That's what I said. That's what I have here. The computer don't care.
Right.
And
That's the thing that people keep confusing with. That's the mistake I think people make about their projections of AI. When they think of it being as intelligent as a human, they think of it as being like a human.
emotions.
Right.
And of course, once you get into emotions, ooh, Katie.
Can't. It's not going to happen.
You
it's
don't
not,
think so?
No, because we haven't even begun to conceive of the theoretical framework in which that would be the case.
Yeah.
It's so far beyond anything we've even been thinking of. The best we can possibly do is tell the computer to emulate the human. We can say, do your best to act like this human. And then let it do whatever it's going to do. And it may do a fantastic job. Like it may make a Cylon, like the Battlestar Galactica Cylon things that look just like a human and act just like a human and everything. But it'll be following the direction of some human to do that.
Well, one of the things was a documentary on the restaurant at the end of the universe, or what was it? The book. It was called the
Hitchhiker's Guide.
Hitchhiker's Guide. One of the things that they would come up, they wanted to find the answer to the life, the universe, and everything, and so they asked this computer, and they said, "Well, how long is it going to be?" And they said, "It'll be about 1,000 years. Let me think about it." So they had the ministers and all these things for 1,000 years, 100 generations of people that were caring for the computer, and finally when the day arrived, they said, okay, what's the answer? Have you got it? Yes, I have it. What is the answer? Well, you have to construct a larger computer than mine, and I will design that computer.
Oh, I thought the answer was 42.
That was the second level computer.
Oh, okay.
The first computer said, no, that's a little too much for me, but I will design for you the computer,
right.
And it will take another 100 years for that computer to figure it out,
right?
And it turned out the computer was the Earth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, again, there's when you read it, I mean, the guy was just a fantastic writer, so there was all kinds of up and down and everything like that. But I thought it was interesting that the computer. This is what happened in the Imitation Game when they asked what's his name. Turing, he said when they wanted to crack the Enigma code, he says you have to have a computer. I will design that computer that will do it for you, and that's what they did. And in fact,
yeah, and we'll get really good at designing computers that do specific things, but and they'll be able to imitate people well. The Asimov goes into it in great detail, as you know, in the iRobot series.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic the way that he conceives of the computers and how they build one another until they get to be the overlord type of computers, and he predicts, I think, quite clearly how they would act. But to assume that they're going to have feelings or desire to do anything at all is...
Well, just as we end up here, let me just, because I got a couple more things, but the not so fast.
Not so fast.
Sex robot demand soars for Whitney Cummings dolls after Netflix hit. Demand for sex robots after her hit. Demand for sex robots that look like Whitney Cummings have soared after the comedian had a doll made to look like her for her Netflix show. Well, and people are ordering them up, and the manufacturers know that's copyrighted. You know, that's that intellectual, whatever it is. And since the customers have flocked to the manufacturer, but the requests have been rejected because of her image is, copyrighted or whatever it is. But they switched back over to on Realbotics, their Harmony model, which is another sex robot. And so they're selling out on those because maybe it's close enough, I don't know. But last month, Brick told us that sex robots will be walking among humans in less than 10 years. He said, chillingly, AI girlfriends becoming indistinguishable from our species with the help from the 5G technology in the long-term future. And but currently, they're going to have facial recognition technology and visual and facial recognition. So
well, the
hi Bob,
the fantastic revolution that's happening is in the mobility, the automated mobility.
Yeah,
and that's something that we've seen progress in our lifetimes from nothing to now pretty decent. But we're going to cross the threshold here. That is going to happen in the next 10 or 20 years, where they'll have robotic animals, basically.
They already have a couple of them. In the military, they can carry your backpacks and stuff.
Yeah, they've got like the dog and whatever, but soon they'll have everything. It'll be the caterpillar and stuff like that, and weird things that, the spider. Once they get a spider and all the flying things and things that can move independently very well, that's going to be a totally different level because...
Well, I was thinking... when you think about the flying things, what about didn't we talk about Las Vegas? The grasshopper infestation?
Yes.
And well, not to be outdone, several pizza shops in Las Vegas now yes, wait a minute, it gets better. It's a Las Vegas pizzeria is taking the world by swarm, and you might call it chicken of the desert, grasshoppers. Oh. The Canyon Hopper pizza at Evil Pie at the menu this week after a biblical level migration of pallid-winged grasshoppers swarmed into Sin City's neon licensed sidewalks, an invasion so thick that it looked like a storm on the weather radar. And so if you stopped at wait a minute, they showed a picture of it. And what they've done is it'll cost you $5.50 a slice.
That's a sin.
No, this is great.
That's a violation.
The thing about it is there's two things about
the
this.
Vatican police should be out there.
No, listen. No, this is what's great about this. There's two things to consider. First of all, the preparation is such that it's super high protein, and I guess what they did is, I'm not sure that they're actually, the grasshopper whole body is not on the pizza, but they have it so that it's a delicacy or whatever. At $5.50 a slice, they're selling out of them. They're selling out of them. Wait a minute, it gets better. Somebody was saying...
They're ripping off our Python rat idea.
Yeah, I know, but what's interesting is people were worried about the
iguanas.
No. The cleanliness of the grasshoppers, because they were all over the place. I mean, you saw the swarms of them, and they said, if these have been, if they're out there, well, it turns out they're not scooping them up off the road. they said, we actually ordered them from Amazon Prime.
Nuh-uh.
Yes. They arrived in bags from Oaxaca, a Mexico City known for grasshoppers or chapulines, and so they ordered. I mean, they didn't walk out the door where there's 10 million of them. They had to order them on Amazon Prime. Next day delivery. Oh God, I'm thinking this is hysterical.
No,
you had every grasshopper on the planet, and you had to order from Mexico.
And yet they did, and it was worth it.
Yes.
That's what you gotta love.
No, I tell you.
Man. Let's see.
It's 5 o'clock, so it better be good.
No, I think. Oh well, what we didn't do real quick was the second debate.
Oh, okay.
We don't have to because not much happened.
Right.
But yeah, well, I thought it was more Democrats. Like De Blasio saying his website is like Tax the Hell or something. Tax to Hell.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's like, and he keeps yelling he's going to tax the hell out of the rich. Basically, it's like, and so anyway, knives out for Biden.
Yeah. Well, he's still up there, and he's still numero uno.
Yeah. I think he's got the best, as I've said all along, he's got the best chance if he can make it through the primaries.
Yeah.
But we'll see if that's...
Well, we certainly saw in the Republican primaries in 2016 how they were lined up, and everybody was saying, it was going to be Jeb or
exactly.
whatever.
Well, you never know at this point. We're still
you don't. Because it was interesting because there was no more than one or two people that said that Trump was going to make it, and everybody was. And
I never thought he was going to even run. No way.
It was interesting to see because then you saw an Oprah interview from 10 years ago or something.
He said, I was a Republican.
Yeah, but what was interesting about this stuff was when you go on YouTube and see the montage of the people say, what's her name saying, he's never going to win, and you can take that to the bank.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, you just went broke, honey.
Yeah, well,
you were robbed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we'll see. I Hillary probably still. I think Hillary will still get in. I don't see how Hillary. I don't see how she can let Biden run when she's still got a heartbeat. She was able to push him out last time, and Bernie and everybody. But
That's true. Of course, she had a little collusion with
So you gin that up again?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if anybody's going to trust curly-haired girl, whatever her name is, from down in Broward County.
Oh, Debbie Wasserman?
Yeah.
Yep. So, anyway, thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys had some fun. We did. We'll see you soon. These tracks brought to you by Kevin MacLeod. Thank you, Kevin. Really appreciate it. Join us again on Wednesday at 4 o'clock right here live.
As we say, no net.
That's right. No net at all. So, see ya.